like loads of people that will shake your hand. I was like, try to shake your hand, not feel your hand. Like, come on.
I like it. I respect my handshakes too much. Oh, is it? Okay. Well, that was very nice. That was a nice hand.
Our oppression is always interlinked, and if women are suffering anywhere in the world, then we're all suffering. So I think it's so important that we come here today, especially when Women's Aid in the building and haven't really said anything on what's going on in Palestine. I think it's so important that for a charity that supports women here in Cardiff, they should be supportive of the women in Palestine, the women who are at the forefront of the genocide that is happening. But also, I want to say a bit about how women are not just, passive victims of genocide or occupation. They are at the forefront of resistance. They are the revolutionaries. They are the people who push forward the radical politics. They are the people who continue to, keep Palestinian life going in the face of genocide. So I think it's really important that we also see the Palestinian women as the liberators, as the fighters, as the people who will push forward, as the people who inspire us constantly to continue to fight for a better world. They are amongst the most abhorrent kind of violence that we've ever seen, and they can still continuing to push for a free Palestine. So in their name, we must continue to push for a free Palestine. As women, as people, as humans, we must continue to create a world where people can live freely. So in this International Women's Day, it's so important that we link the struggle of working women around the world. International Women's Day actually began as International Working Women's Day. It was started by women who were striking, women who worked in factories, who were fed up and tired of the way they were being treated. So we must continue to push this struggle for working women, but women all around the world who are at the face of oppression constantly every day. And we must continue to push for a society where women don't have to bear the brunt of these things. In society, in a world where we are seeing constant crisis, women are actually at the intersection of the most awful parts of that. In the cost of living crisis and the pandemic, women are the ones who bear the brunt of that. Women are the ones who bear the brunt of that from society. We saw rates of domestic violence go up. So I think it's really important that we understand women are also an integral part of our society, and why we must continue for the freedom of women and the freedom of everyone in this society. So thank you all for coming today. And the reason why we must continue to fight for the end to the genocide, but ultimately for the end for the apartheid, the end on the siege on Gaza, and an end to Israeli occupation as a whole. We must understand that the roots of Israel are based in violence, and that violence is intensified for the women of Gaza in terms of access to healthcare. We've seen the amount of pregnant women who've been giving birth in hospitals that have been bombed. This assault is particularly visceral for the women of Palestine. So it's so important that we remember the International Women's Day, but also every day, and how important they are to save the life of Palestine. An influential Palestinian woman, Leila Khalid, who I learned about a couple of weeks ago, and this idea of resistance, and you know, she defies the ideas of what a woman should do. Layla Khalid has been a part of the Liberation Front for Palestine, and she was instrumental in the hijacking of planes, you know, in the fight for Palestine. And I think she really, embodied this idea that, you know, as a woman, you know, you should be able to fight for the liberation of your people just as much as anyone else. And I think Layla really shows that, you know, she defied this idea that often we see that we're told that women in the global south, Muslim women, black women are docile, and we're just victims, and you know, we're just subjected to this. But you know, Layla really proved that you can physically fight against it, you know, in terms of the rhetoric, but in terms of actually being part of the liberation movement. I think that's so important for people to see that women are leaders in liberation movements. Women are the ones that are on the front lines who are fighting. We're not just, you know, passive victims. And I think Layla Khalid is, I think a really big inspiration in terms of Palestinian women who are at the forefront of fighting for liberation.
There's just another woman who I've been really wanting to speak about because I find her so inspiring, and that's the Lady Pandor. And she is the South African foreign minister, and she is the one who stood up in Parliament before they went to the ICJ in South Africa and said, we've got to do this. She spearheaded it. She did it from a totally moral point of view. And she knew that she was going to get opposition because she knew that America would start imposing all sorts of taxes and import duties on South African goods. And still, she said, we cannot stand by. We cannot stand by. We have got to stand up for these people because the link between Palestine and South Africa is so strong. And Palestine supported South Africa all through apartheid, and now it's the time to do it the other way around. And she has been, the Israelis are calling her the legal wing of Hamas. And she doesn't care, she's still going on. She says, we will not tire, we will not tire. And she is determined, and it's that sort of inspiration. And she's got this wonderful, wise face. She's been through, she's seen so much of what happened in South Africa, and now she is taking this moral leadership in a very, very difficult times, very difficult, lots of people against her. She's got tons and tons of threats online, and her family has been threatened, and still she is not going to tire. She's going to carry on, and if this thing at the ICJ doesn't work, then they're going to think of something else. And she's going on and on and on, and it's that sort of leadership. We don't need to always look to America, let's look somewhere else. Let's look to women like Naledi Pandor.
It's supposed to be a silent vigil, but I wanted to say there really are no more words of the atrocities that's been happening to the people in Palestine. All the international human rights laws have been broken. The people have been denigrated. They're going through a lot. You see mothers carrying homes lives and still being bombed. And Labour says a sustainable ceasefire is the only way. the answer, then I know all of us want a solution. But it just shows that the problem in this world is bigger and deeper, and we have to work harder, especially as women, to educate our children, to educate our loved ones. The freedom of Palestine might not be near, but they will definitely have it. I promise you that. And as women, I know we can do it, and I know we are the foundation of the community. We are in charge of the children, and we're in charge of the men. Don't you forget that. So thank you for all coming today.